Hey guys, just going to show you a little bit about Lightroom and how to import, edit, and export photographs. To start, you're going to open up Lightroom, and if you have photographs that you've already put on here, they would be there. But in your case, you're going to be starting out with nothing. So once you open up, you're going to go over here to the left side, and you're going to click on down here at the bottom to import. And then you're going to find your photographs somewhere in here. On the left-hand side, if you click Source, you should have some different options here. I believe I should have mine. On the desktop I put mine. All right, so it's just like you would pick up a photograph in any other program. You're just going to find it wherever you saved it. In your case, it's going to be either in your downloads folder or in your personal file here at school. So I'm going to go find it here. And when you get to whatever file it's in, they're all automatically going to be checked. So you want to go make sure that you go down here to uncheck all and then click the ones that you want. If you click on it, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. It's highlighted, but it doesn't mean you're going to get it. It just illuminates it so you can kind of preview it. If you want multiples, you're going to have to click at the one you want, hold Shift, and do there. Now, and then click the next one, and they're both highlighted. If you wanted, say, like this first one and this last one, you'd have to click there, hold Command or Control, and then click the next one. But in this case, I'm going to click here, hold Shift, click this one, and then hit check one time, and that'll automatically check them both. So now both pictures are able to be imported. So they're both checked, and then I go over here to the bottom right and click Import. And now they're going to take a little minute to come in. And now I have my two photographs. I can preview these photographs in a number of ways. I can do it as a grid down here. I can preview one at a time and hit my arrow keys to go back and forth. I can click here down here where it says X, Y to see them side by side, and some other different options. If I'm going through a batch of photographs and I want to just mark a couple that I like and discard the rest, I can click here to flag the ones that I like. Let's say I don't like this one. Oh wait, they're both highlighted, so I have to unhighlight them. Highlight the one I want, click flag, and then I can go to filters and flagged, and that means I'm only going to see the flagged ones. But I'm going to put my filters off because I kind of want to look at them both and unflag these. So I'm going to highlight them both if I want to do something but click off of it. So I want to start with this photograph. I'm going to develop this photograph first. Again, I'm in the library right now just looking at them. I'm going to click on the one that I want to develop, and then I'm going to click over here to develop. I think I'm frozen for a second. Give me a second here. All right, so now looking at this photograph, you can tell that it's overexposed. It doesn't have enough contrast. It's a little grainy, you know, it's a little tilted. So there's a couple different edits that I need to make this like a viable photograph again. The first thing I'm always going to ask you to do is like look at your composition, assess your composition. Is it a good composition? Which we'll get more into that next week. But how you would change that is you would go over here to your crop tool, which is over here, and this is going to allow you to do a number of things. Firstly, it's going to allow you to shrink or change the picture. If you wanted, like say I wanted to completely pull that tree out, I would click the crop button, and then I'm just going to cinch it over here, and then I can take my hand and I can move the image. So whatever's lit up is going to be the picture, and I can move him in the frame. Don't forget that this grid line is really nice because it already gives you your rule of thirds, so you can kind of move it back and forth until you have it exactly where you want it, if you want it centered or pushed to the side. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing that you can do with the crop tool is constrain it. So over here by the lock, it's at the original parameters, which is what my camera set. But I can set it to 1:1, which would give me a square. And no matter how I move this corner, it's going to stay a 1:1 ratio, which would be a square. So I can really crop it in if I wanted to just get like his head. And this will give you a preview over here of what that would look like, if you like that or not. But I can just Go back to the original again. And I can also go here and constrain it to, like, say I want to get this printed at the store. Well, I want to get it printed as 4x5 or an 8x10. I can do that, and it's going to change the properties. So no matter I move this, it will, everything that I see in this image is still going to show up in an 8x10 photograph if I went to, you know, Target or Walmart to get it done. So let's say we're just doing like a good old Instagram photo. I'm going to put it as a square. I'm going to get the tree in there. I'm going to put him kind of pushed over. Let's do him in the middle here. All right, once I've got the crop I want, another thing that I can do is straighten, which I can do by when I'm up here in the crop. Similar to Illustrator is hover over here on the corner and you get those kind of bendy arrows. I can also straighten this. And another grid's going to show up that it's actually going to help you align things. So I can take that horizon and put it right along there as best as I can. And now, if you look in the preview, I've got a much more straight horizon if that's what you're into. In some cases, you may really want to consider doing that for compositional reasoning. So I've got my image. It's composed the way I want it, straightened out. Now I need to deal with the lighting, the colors, and all of that. So the next thing I'm going to do is look at its exposure. Well, it's really bright. It's really blown out, so I need to lower the exposure. Similar as you would your camera, I'm going to darken this a little bit. It's going to take some of those lighter highlights down, and it's going to improve the richness of my blacks. So that's already looking better, but it's still rather dull. The values are really similar. It's really kind of like bland. So the next thing I'm going to do is boost the contrast. This is going to change the differences between the blacks and the whites and the grays in between. It's going to push the blacks and the whites so that the blacks are becoming more deep and rich, the whites are becoming more distant, and you can already see the image improving and its clarity improving, and it's just popping out more. If I play with the whites tool, it's going to make the whites brighter, which obviously I don't want to go too nuts on that, or the whites darker. If there's too many whites in there, I can tone those down a bit with this. I don't usually mess with the whites unless there's like a glaring issue, like a glare or a highlight that I want to get rid of. I usually push the blacks because I think deeper blacks automatically make the whites whiter. So I push a little bit of the blacks in there. Now clarity is something that's going to give you more definition to your images. You can use this stylistically, but I think if you use it sparingly, it's kind of nice to just give a little more depth to your image. Just really shy. But if you push it too much, you get this like really kind of like artistic, deep, high definition look, and it's verging on cheesy, so just be sparing with that. Vibrance is just going to push your colors as well as saturation. In this case, the pink tongue is already quite pink. The red is already quite red. I don't really need to push the saturation. If in a case where the pink is too pink, you can actually even lower the saturation. Now notice when you put the saturation all the way down, it becomes a black and white photograph because you've got no saturation. If you take the vibrance out, again, it's going to lower the saturation, keeping a little bit of color, but just like only the colors that are strong. But this is a nice way to tone things down if things are getting a little too like unrealistic. So once I have that, now I can go down here into the colors and I can play around with my saturation, my hue. I can give things a cast. I can take all the reds and I can make all the reds more orange. You know, I can take all the blues and I can make all the blues more blue, but see, there's no blue in here, it doesn't really do much. If I take the greens and I push the greens, let's see here, it's not even doing much. So we don't have too much saturation here as it is. Don't worry about split toning right now. If we get in here, we go into the detail, and if you move this around, you can see that this picture has quite a bit of grain, and that's because if you look up here, you can see that, oh wait, where'd it go? You can see up here in the histogram that my ISO is at 2000. So it's a really high ISO, and that's why if you look here in the detail thumbnail, it's very, very grainy. Not ideal, and you can really see that in the background, like super grainy. I could go to luminance and fix that slightly and see how it kind of blends that in. It's kind of nice, and it doesn't really make that much effect. It just kind of cleans things up. If I push luminance too much though, I get like this painted effect that doesn't look natural at all. So I wouldn't really mess with luminance to that degree. I mean, that looks really nice, but it's like also looks like it's super photoshopped. So don't mess with that too much because that looks lame. Bring back the grain. It looks better with the grain than it does the other way. Detail, I can push the details, I can push contrast in the noise, I can change the color of the noise. We can play around with them, but again, small changes is best appropriate for that. Don't worry about lens corrections. And then the last thing that I usually do is add a vignette. Which I can make white or I can make dark. If you go all the way down, you can see it's really quite circular and really bold. Let's go halfway. You can change the midpoint so that it's a really big circle or that it's a smaller circle so that more of it's dark and more of the dog is in, but I'm going to do about medium. I can make the circle really round, or I can make it really square-like, so it just is like right on the edges as though the edges have been burnt. Sometimes that's a nice stylistic effect. If you want it to be natural, you want it to have more of a rounded midpoint. You can feather it, so then you can make it really faded, so it's like a nice gradual fade, or you can go all the way down to where it's like actually a complete circle. Again, stylistic choice on that end. If you want it natural, subtle changes. Highlights, I can make it brighter, or I can make it darker. I like to go somewhere in between. Okay, I'm still seeing like a really gray photograph though, like when I look at this color-wise. So what I'm going to do is, because it's taken on a cloudy day, but like say you want to make it look like it was on a sunny day, you can go up here to temperature and you can push it, it'll take the blues out and it'll add just a cast of yellow. If you do too much, you get like sepia, which you don't want. But just a little bit, just a wee bit. I'll wait for my computer to catch up. It just gives it a tiny bit of a yellow cast to make it look a little bit more sunny day. If it looks too pink for some reason or too green, you can push. If it's too green, go pink. If it's too pink, go green. I'm going to go more pink, I think. So now we're getting kind of like an aged look here. So I may have pushed the yellow a tad too much. Okay. And you can actually go in here, like if your slider's not working, you can go in here, highlight that, and just do like a -5. Let's see what that looks like. Let's see what 5 yellow looks like. Yeah, I like 5 yellow. It just gives it a little bit of a glow, but not too unnatural. Okay, now the sky is really blown out, and I want to bring some more into the sky. So this is where I hit that graduated filter over here. I can take this, and there's a plus sign. I can drag it wherever I want, drag it down, and I can teeter back and forth. I want it to be just the sky and not really on his head, but it's going to be a gradual blend of whatever changes I make. It automatically, for whatever reason, starts with this like high exposure, which I hate, but just let it go. Just remember that that's why it looks so bright when you do it. Just change the exposure back to normal, and in this case, I'm going to go even a little lower because I do want to bring more of the sky in. Since the sky should be more blue, I'm going to push the color more blue. Now that's a little too much, so I'm going to go in here and just do like a -5. There we go. That looks good. Okay. Oops, my computer is starting to slow down here. All right, so this is pretty good. If you want to see how this lines up to your other photograph, you can go down here. You should be able to. Oh wait, I have to go to done when I change that. And you can go to YY, and what it's going to show you is your old picture as it compares to your last picture. Okay? So you can see that I've really improved the quality of this picture, and I've salvaged an otherwise kind of ugly and ruined picture. All right. So once you have the picture the way you like it, You're ready to kind of send it out into the world and do something with it. What I would like you to do, because of the capabilities of our program, is to just export it so that you can save it onto your drive and then also save it elsewhere, like in a Google Drive, which you should be doing, or a flash drive, or some other way of backing this up. Even if you want to send it in a Moto, I don't care, but back it up somehow. You're going to export it. So save isn't enough. There isn't actually a save in this. It automatically is saved within your Lightroom, like temporary file, like it's in there. But I need you to be able to access it as a JPEG, as like an image that you can do things with. Right now, this is just sort of like data. It's just a theory. It's just a thought. It's not like a tangible thing that you can kind of push out to the world. To do that, you need to go to File, and you can do this from the library too. So you could essentially select a batch of photographs. You could click this one and this one. But let's click this one. We're going to go to File, Export. And now we have a lot of options, and this is actually a really powerful tool for editing and saving pictures in a batch. You can add watermarks, you can do all sorts of things, but let's just stick with the basics. We're going to export to a folder, so we're going to go to Choose Specific Folder. We'll go into our thing. I'm going to just save it right. For me, I'm going to save it on my desktop. You guys are going to save it onto your regular file. So I'm going to put it in my desktop. Say I have a batch of photographs and I want them to be in their own folder, so there's not like just random photographs all over my drive or all over my desktop. I can put this check and then make a file and just do like I'll call it Graphic Arts Test Photo. So it's automatically going to create a folder on my desktop called this, and it's going to put this photograph right in it. And I can rename it. So I can give it a custom name, and then I just like type in here what I want. Or I can name it in a sequence, which means that I can give them all a name. So like say I'm doing 10 photographs, I can call it like GA Test Photo, and this one's going to save it as GA Test Photo 1, but say I was saving 10 at a time, each one would get saved as the subsequent number. So GA Test Photo 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a really quick way to save your photographs. And you can start it at any number. So like say I came back to this after I edit the next one, I could put it at start number 2, and then it's going to save it in that same order. I just have to remember where I left off. You can make it a JPEG. If you're going to file it for print, you need to put the quality up to you should be able to go to 300, but it's not letting you. So I can go up to 100 here, but if it's for just the web, 72 is all you need. We can do it as a JPEG, we can do it as different file sizes, but you guys are going to be working with JPEG. You can size the image in here, but don't mess with that. And sharpening and metadata and all that stuff, don't worry about that. Watermark, we're not there yet. So that's another really good thing. So then you export it, and then this is going to save it onto that hard drive, and it's going to look like this and be the right parameters and everything. Another thing that you can do, like, so I took these, so while it's saving, I'll just talk about like going on to the next one. The next one I sort of want you to just figure out on your own. But one thing that I want to show you is that, like, say you take a bunch of photographs all in like the same day. Then they were all taken at the same time, same type of lighting, and you figure out a really good thing. Well, you can apply that to the other ones by doing this. So let's go back into Develop. Let's open up Develop. We're going to go here. We've made all these edits, right? We're going to go here to Copy. And we're going to copy all of these things, and you can pick, like say you did, let's say I did let's see, clarity, noise reduction, spot removal, effects. Let's say, okay, let's take out the effects. I don't want to copy my effects because I did some effects, like especially if you do like spot corrections and things like that. Don't do that, like, and maybe noise reduction, I can do that later. I'm going to take off graduated filters because or any local adjustments that I did, like spot filters, graduated filters, because that was specific to this image and the fact that this had the light blown. My next image doesn't have that. But I do want the coloring, I want the exposure, I want all that stuff to kind of be the same. I can just pick and choose. You definitely don't want to do crop. You don't want to, unless you plan to crop all your things in the same exact place, like if you're doing studio setting. But pick the things that you think would be, you know, relevant to your next picture. Copy this, and then when we go to our next photograph, I can go to Paste, and it's going to slowly automatically put those in. Now, the reason why this looks so different is because I actually tricked you and I gave you guys two totally weirded out photos that were not, I edited them to look bad. So that's why it did this. So it's not going to work every time, but in theory, if you took all the pictures at the same time of day and they all look the same as an import, then copying and pasting these settings would give you similar results throughout, and then it would save a lot of the legwork, and it would actually make your photographs much more consistent. All right, so that's all I wanted to show you for now. Good luck with this. Edit both photographs, upload them back to Edmodo for me, edited, and we'll take a look at your work.